There is a message you have already been given that you never spent. It is still inside you tonight, fully understood and completely unused. And it has been sitting there long enough that you have stopped noticing the weight of it. Picked. One of the folders is out there. Saved messages that you didn't read again. You took this picture at 200 in the morning. Because it hit you so hard that you didn't want to forget it. There's a note on your phone that you haven't opened in months. Because the subject line was so important the day you wrote it. This part should make you stop where you are. Everything in that folder is true. It's all right. You didn't fail to get it. You got it right away, faster than most people will ever be able to. Your life didn't change. That's the thing that no one has told you. I was told to bring you something that really can't be stored. It needs to go away, not because it's dangerous or because someone is going to take it away from you. It needs to go away because that's where it's supposed to be. A message that stays a message has failed. If you send the right message, it turns into a decision instead of a message. You will understand what that means by the end of this hour. You'll also understand why the most alert people you've ever met are also the most tired. That's not their fault, and it never has been yours. From now until the end of the hour, 3 things will happen. I'll name all 3 so you know I'll keep my word. You are going to understand why the amount of truth you hold no longer changes how your days go. You don't need a vague understanding, you need a mechanical one. The kind that works at 11 p.m., when the feeling of tonight is gone, and only the structure is left. You will feel a weight lift off of the thing you've been calling laziness in private, because it wasn't laziness at all. Now that I've said that, you don't have to wait for me to tell you to want it more. That part isn't coming. Not tonight or tomorrow. You will leave with one small, clear instruction that you can do tonight before bed. This instruction will close a door in you that has been open for years. That's right, I don't want you to have to wait an hour for proof. Here's the first piece. In your own mind, where no one is looking, give an honest answer. Do you know more about your goal now than you did 3 years ago? Almost certainly yes. You've learned more, read more, prayed more, and listened more. Take a look at your calendar. Take a look at your money. Look at your mornings and the people you're with. How far apart are those 2 things? 3 years. It's not for most people who hear this. The knowing changed, but the living stayed the same. Whenever you notice that gap, you think of it as a personal flaw. Like a piece of discipline you missed that everyone else seemed to get. And you didn't do it. It is not a flaw. It's a system that's working in almost everyone who has a serious inner life right now. The moment you understand, something is marked by the same internal signal that it uses to mark the moment you're done. What a difference there is between the relief you feel when you realize the truth, and the relief you feel when you finish a task. That's why the system marks it as done. Understanding is not the same as completion. In this way, revelation can make you feel like you're making progress, even though your life stays the same. There's no reason for you to avoid your calling, chosen one. You were paid ahead of time for work you didn't do, and it felt so real that you stopped wondering why the money never showed up. Under that, there is a full mechanism, a way that it closes, and a reason why it has to close in a window that most people miss by hours and never know it opened. That will be done later today. In the same way, this message can't stay a message because of that. But do something with what you know to be true right now, while it's still in your chest. Don't store it, leave one phrase below instead. I spent it today, not because I agreed to. To agree is to store. Leave it as the first thing you've changed, instead of gathered in a long time. Also, pay attention to what your body does the first time you convert something in a long time. There is a little let out in the chest, like putting down a bag you forgot you had in your hand. The data in that release. Remember it. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description, or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site, you are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today, join our community, and see what God brings back into your life. Picked. Stay with me, because what goes away today is meant to go away into you. For a moment, I want to talk about your life, and I want you to notice how specific I can be. That's the only proof I can give you at this point. You have a system, notes, a journal, folders, voice memos, and maybe even an app on your phone that is just for the things you think God has shown you. There is nothing messy about you. That's the part no one sees coming. This doesn't happen to careless people. It almost always happens to people who are careful. This is the first sign. You can teach what you don't know how to do. Someone in pain comes to you, and when you open your mouth, you say something pure, true, and right. They feel it, and it changes them. When you get home, your life doesn't look like what you just said. This is the second sign. There's something off about reading over your own notes again. It was only a small flinch that went away in half a second, and that you have never looked at. It wasn't pride or nostalgia. I'll tell you what that flinch is called before the hour is over. This is the third sign. It seems like you're still looking for the next word or confirmation. Part of you knows that's what you're doing, even though the last three are still in your phone, not being spent at all. Still, looking is better than facing what you have. This is the fourth sign. You're really tired, and sleep won't help. You sleep, and when you wake up, you're still tired because you didn't lose any sleep. Something else is made by something you do every day, without becoming aware of it. Now for the fifth sign, which is the one that hits you the hardest. In all your years, you have never lied, but now you feel like a fake. If you said it out loud, no one would believe you. But you can feel it in the quiet space between what you know and what your days are like. Listen carefully to the thesis, because everything else tonight depends on this one sentence. What you've been calling a lack of revelation is really just too much storage space. You are not getting anything. You are keeping too much. heaven is still talking to you. You have a lot on your hands, and hands that are full can't receive. So the silence you've been pained by is not rejection. It's about space. Things that happen to people who live this way for years are named. That old file trap. When you reach this state, finding the truth and living it become the same thing. Where someone sets up a beautiful library inside their head, and then slowly dies of hunger in the middle of it. And where each new lesson makes things a little worse, instead of a little better. Because each new lesson just adds to the stack without moving the feet. The worst part is that you can't see it from the inside. It doesn't seem like a trap. It makes me think of devotion. It makes me feel like a tough person. Up until the day it feels fine. Certain people are not supposed to do something that it doesn't like. Let's take the trap apart one part at a time. Start with the sign or symptom you would give a doctor if they asked you what was wrong. This is how you say it. I'm aware of what I need to do, but I'm not doing it. That sentence has been stuck in your head for years in some form. I get it, and nothing changes. I can give someone a full account of how I healed myself. I also can't take 5 steps into it myself. Keep in mind that the sentence is split in two, and you only attack the second half. You never doubt that you know. You ask why it is being done. I'm going to take away the cause you gave it, because it's costing you more than the problem itself. You've decided that the reason is that you don't have enough discipline or desire, or that you were hurt as a child, and you'll never be as strong as the people who get things done easily. You know what it means to do the hard thing first and form habits. All of those systems think that the difference between what you know and what you do is a lack of will. It's not, and in about 10 seconds, I can show you proof with your own history. Think of a time when you moved quickly. There was a call at 200 in the morning, and you were already dressed and in the car before your mind had fully awakened. A child in danger. A friend is in trouble. There was a time when the need was clear, and there was no delay between knowing and doing. Those rules were enough for you that night. Nothing got in the way as you moved with the same nervous system, history, and self. The engine works. It's always worked, the engine. The signal isn't getting to the engine because something else is blocking it. It's time now. You already knew. Here is how it really works. In your mind, I understand this, and I have done this, are not separate. There is one relief signal, and it goes off when the tension is gone. There is tension when you don't know what to do with your life. When the truth comes out and the confusion goes away. The tension goes down, and the down feels like arrival. There is no check by the nervous system to see if anything in the outside world changed. It only shows that there is no longer any pressure. This means that the moment of insight gives you the reward that was meant to be on the other side of the action. The pay comes before the work. And a system that has already been paid for doesn't move. Because that's what the payment was supposed to buy. That's why the deepest lesson you've ever learned didn't change anything. That it wasn't because it was too simple, it was because you fully understood it. And someone who is happy doesn't move. Here, take that with you and look at your life again. I need you to read your history again correctly. Every night you stayed up late reading something real. And you could feel your life moving around inside you. Those nights were real. I'm not taking them away from you. But what you thought was a breakthrough was actually a finished deal in your body. After those nights you did not fail. You were never in the middle of something. The thing shut up on its own, and never left your chest. You've been calling yourself inconsistent for years, when you were getting paid ahead of time, and then being blamed for not working. No. You were not disobeying the chosen one. You were pleased. And no one ever told you that happiness was something that could be stolen. That's why the fix isn't more force. Think about reading that again. It's not more force that fixes it. You can't fix the problem of getting paid too early by pushing harder against people who already think the job is done. You fix it by not letting the payment go through. You can solve the problem by making telling the truth cost you something before your brain can close the file. That's all there is to it. Even better, you can get it today. It's small, and you'll get it right and in full before the hour is over. Do this right now. If you can, say it under your breath. It hasn't cost me anything yet. It should be about the last thing you got. A shame not as bad as an audit. Leave it down where you can see it in the morning, if you want it to stay. Someone told you an old story so many times that it lost its power over you. I want to give it back to you with a new edge. A man leaves some of his money with 3 servants before going on a trip. 2 of them trade the things they were given for more. The third one takes what he was given, digs a hole, and bury it. And when the master comes back, that servant gives back the exact thing he was given, whole, undamaged, and complete. We've always thought of that story as being about fear or being lazy. Today, read it as a story about putting things away. There was no loss for the third servant. That's what makes it so awful. He kept it in perfect condition. Anyone could have seen the exact spot. Out of the 3, he was the only one who could make the original, and the only one who was called cheating. It wasn't damage that got him in trouble. It was the lack of blood flow. He dealt with something that was meant to move like it was something that was meant to be kept. As soon as he did that, the value changed from being value to a memory of value. Picked. Sit with how soft and harsh that is at the same time. In that story, no one gets in trouble for not understanding. The servant got it right away. He knew what he had, who owned it, and how much it was worth. He fully understood everything. The records he kept were spotless. A woman I talked to not long ago had been in ministry for 19 years. She told me she had 11 journals. Any of them would work for her to quote. She told me in a voice that wasn't any emotion, that she had made a beautiful record of a life she hadn't lived. The record was so good that for a long time it had been able to stand in for the life. The worst part, she said, wasn't being empty. It was that everyone around her thought she was deeply blessed, and they were right. She could feel it in her like water in a sealed jar. Full, sealed, and useless to everyone, even herself. Please be careful with me now, if any of that made your throat tighten. There is a version of this hour that makes you feel exposed and worse. And that is not what this is for. You will not be charged today. You are being found. There is a world of difference. A charge tells you what kind of person you are. Being found lets you know where you are. And the only thing that has ever made it possible to move is knowing where you are. Now I need to show you what happens to a revelation that is received but never changed, because you thought it would just sit there without doing anything. This time, the symptom is less loud. It's the flinch I talked about before. The one that makes you feel bad when you read an old note. You've had a small wince inside when you look at your own writing. It only takes a second, and there isn't a clear place to put it, so most people never look at it. You may have thought that flinch means guilt. That guilt is a moral event, and that the right thing to do is to feel bad and say you'll do better. That is wrong, and the fact that it is wrong is hurting people. It's not guilt. You feel guilty for what you did. This is about who you are and isn't moral at all. It is built up. This is what is really happening. Because your mind is not a shelf, a revelation that hasn't changed you doesn't stay neutral. If you hear the truth and don't act on it, the loop stays open. Also, open loops don't stay still. All of them add up to one background sentence that runs through your days. I know, but I still don't do it. The damage gets worse when that sentence is read enough times. It stops being a report about your behavior and turns into proof of who you are. It's like every new truth you hear builds on the 20 that came before it. You're not just not doing anything about the new thing. You are getting it through a filter that tells you the receiver isn't trustworthy. That's why knowing more truth makes you heavier instead of lighter. A process is running in the background that uses energy, but doesn't do anything. In the language that these oldest texts were written, there is a word for this that changes everything. Most of the time, the word sharma in Hebrew means to hear. It doesn't mean the same thing as our word though. To hear and obey at the same time is what shama means. It's not a bridge of willpower that connects two steps. It moves as one. There was no word for hearing in that language that did not also mean to do something. Someone who heard something but didn't do anything about it would not have been called someone who heard and then failed. It would have been easier to say that they hadn't heard anything at all. By definition, the hearing was not complete. This was not a moral failing. Think about what that does to your record. It's not even fair to call what you wrote knowing in places where you knew you shouldn't have obeyed. That means the case you've been building against yourself for years was written in a language that doesn't have the right idea to convict you. This has been in your body longer than in your mind, so let me put that in your body for a moment. Allow the breath to leave the body further than it normally would. Pay attention to your jaw and let it feel heavier than it usually does. Take your weight off the place where they've been living. Turn your attention to the front of your chest, just below the collarbone. See if there is a steady low pressure there. The kind that you dropped years ago because it didn't go away. Don't push it away right now. Put your hand there for a moment to remember that it's real and has been there for a long time. That stress isn't a sign of bad character, nor is it a warning. It's an accumulation, and accumulations can be released. This is not the same as having problems that need to be solved. You spent too much time trying to solve something that was always ready to be spent. It's not time yet, so I have to tell you something. But I'll leave it there for now. Forcing it would waste time. After this started, I was shown that the gap is there for a physical reason. There is no spiritual reason behind it. There is a physical one in the machinery that moves an idea from where it is understood to where it moves. There should be two parts of you talking to each other. And they have stopped talking to most adults alive right now. And there is a known reason for the silence that was proven decades ago, but is now mostly forgotten. I'm not naming it yet. If you want to do something productive, I want you to hold a question instead. A question you think about for 40 minutes is better for you than an answer you give in 10 seconds. This is the question. What is it about people who understand the most that makes them move the least? Do not throw it away. I will get it back. And it won't be a figure of speech when I do. Take the ground you already have for now, because it has really moved under you in the last few minutes, and I don't want you to leave it unclaimed. You are not someone who doesn't follow the rules. You have been receiving in a language that thought receiving and doing should be one motion. But you have been living in a world that separated them, and then charged you for the space. That is not a small change. That is taking away a verdict. It changes who you are. You've been picturing yourself as a container, something that holds things. Today I want you to hear a different word. It is the carrier state. The capacity of a carrier does not define it. Transit is what makes someone a carrier. A carrier is something that receives for someone or something else, not itself. You've been given everything in the past, while it was being sent to you. The message that arrived at 200 a.m. wasn't meant for you to understand. It was meant for your Tuesday. To someone you haven't talked to or knocked on the door yet. To someone who doesn't know your name, and is waiting for your obedience. This is why the storage is so bad. It's not because storing is wrong. This is because a carrier that is stored is a carrier that is not in its proper place. And a part of you knows that the goal is still ahead. So while that's still alive in you, think of it as who you are instead of just information. Say it, I carry things, and if you can, leave it below. Because thinking a sentence is not the same as writing it down, so that someone can read it back to you. Because I'm not the source of any of this, I want to be honest. I'd rather you trust the pattern than me. I'm sure I can describe this shape, because I've seen it happen to enough people. There are parts of it that I'm not sure will apply to you. Take what makes you feel good, and leave the rest without feeling bad about it. Even if it's just one sentence today, that's a big night. Spending one sentence does more than 11 journals ever did. There is a time in the old stories that you own today, that almost no one preaches about. A prophet brings news to a king. It goes to the king. He doesn't say anything, he doesn't make fun of. The prophet is not sent away, he agrees. He even starts to cry. After that, the story goes on. When we see that kingdom again, nothing has changed. The word just sits there in the record like something that no one picked up. We read those passages to find the bad guys, the ones who said no. Most of the people in those pages are not the ones who refuse though. It's the person who happily agrees and doesn't move. From the outside, agreement looks like obedience, but it doesn't cost anything on the inside. This made it the most sophisticated way to say no. Picked. If you've been the agreeing type, I want you to feel how much lighter that is than what you've been calling yourself. There has been no rebellion on your part. You've agreed with them. And agreement, no matter how warm it is, has never moved anything that can be seen. I can see that there is a part of you that is standing back a little with your arms folded. I'd rather talk to that part directly than act like it's not there. One version says that this is just positive thinking wrapped up in the Bible. That part of you is not the bad guy. There is a guard there for a reason. Chances are, it's because something once told you it would do a lot but never did, and you paid a lot of money for it. Let me be clear with the guard. When you think positively, you try to change how you feel about something. You haven't been asked to change how you feel in this hour. This whole thing has been an explanation of a mechanism. Also, the instruction that comes after is not an attitude. This is an action that has a size, a due date, and a way to check if it happened. Feelings can't be checked. What you do can. This is the test I would use if I were you. Check to see if what is being talked about makes any predictions. Thinking positively doesn't tell you anything. What I said made sense of the flinch you felt when you read your own notes. It told me I would be tired. Sleep doesn't touch. It said that you would keep looking while still having money left over. It's not flattery if people keep talking about your life before you give them anything. It's a diagnosis. It says, I have tried everything, in a quieter and heavier version of the part that stands back. Yes, that could be you. Please know that I totally believe you, and will not insult you by saying you didn't try hard enough. There have been early starts, fasts, an accountability partner, and a wall of index cards that you have tried. At least 3 systems that worked for 11 days were set up by you. And every time one didn't work, you added it to a private record that now shows that you are the only one for whom it doesn't work. Check out what those attempts all have in common. Everyone tried to add more force to what was being done. No one changed the date of the payment. You kept getting better tools to attack the second half of the sentence. The tools weren't bad. That's where they were aimed at the wrong place. That's why the real question is not whether you've tried everything. If you've ever tried the thing, that tells you something about how it works. Is that true? If not, then your long history of failing is not proof of who you are. It shows that the goal was reached. This brings me to the part of the pattern that is the most hidden. I have to be careful what I call it because you will want to defend it. This is the sign. You get something real. After 1 or 2 days you tell someone about it. It's talked about over coffee. It's sent to a friend who needs it. You post the main part of it. It's taught in a group. It lands well. And you feel a lot lighter afterward. You've always thought of that lightness as kindness. You are also kind. That's why the reading is correct. But I need to ask you something straight out. How likely are you to act on something you've learned after telling 3 people? Before you answer, look at your real history. What's going on below is shown here. Saying a truth out loud makes a discharge that is very similar to what happens when you act on it. The telling gives you a sense of completion. The loop ends in a social way. The matter has left you and moved into the world, and your body knows it. It has, but it moved on to someone else, and didn't affect your days. Teacher hypocrisy is the main reason why they are often the last ones to get their own lessons. Circulation without changing anything. The word only goes through you at the speech level, and never gets to the decision level. And it seems so much like loyalty, that you wouldn't believe it. Put the whole strange history of it back into its proper place. You were not being denied every time. You gave someone exactly what they needed, and then went home to a life that hadn't changed. The revelation was the only thing you spent it on that doesn't buy your own movement. You were not refusing to obey. You were giving it away wrong. You get something right away, which is the only reason I'm telling you this today. One thing can be kept back. You don't need to tell anyone. When you don't want to say the truth, you can hold it inside until it comes out on your calendar, instead of in a conversation. This one restraint has changed more lives than any other I've seen people try. Put yourself in a morning that you can have right now. I want you to be in the present tense, because your mind will argue with a promise, but not with a scene. It will be 6 weeks from now. You wouldn't want it to be this early. The house is quiet, the light is gray, and you have a mug in your hand. Something is different, but you can't put your finger on it. Then you find it. You don't owe anything. There isn't a list running under your morning. There is no note in your phone, written by you that is ready to accuse you. You realized the last thing a few weeks ago, in just 9 minutes. It was so small that you almost forgot to count it, but it closed the loop anyhow. As you sit there, you realize that you are not practicing who you are. You're not telling yourself about your calling enough to make it feel real. It is just morning, and you are just in it. The person with the mug is the person you've been writing about in your journals for years. In an hour like this, there is a point where people quietly decide they get it. That's why I need to say something about where we are now. You still don't get the point. What you have so far is the diagnosis, which is the younger half. The thing I asked you to hold a question about still doesn't have a name. It's still not time for the small task I promised you to do before you go to sleep. The heaviest thing I got today is still ahead of you, not behind you. Listen to how strange it would be if you were going to save this and come back to it later. A message about archiving is what you would be archiving. Stay put. The part that pays for itself is the part that costs money. Let me now give you the answer I promised in the first minute. You've been waiting for it, and now it's time. What makes the people you know who are normally the most awake also the most tired? Which woman looks more worn out? The one who has kept journals for 19 years, or the one who has never thought about any of this? It's not that depth is heavy. It's being done by something else. You thought that being tired was a sign of spiritual warfare. The price of being sensitive. Or just the feeling of being able to see clearly in a world that doesn't. These explanations are honorable, which is why they are dangerous. You have been paying for that comfort for years, by getting a decent explanation that makes you not need to look any further. This is the real accounting. A revelation that doesn't change someone is an open loop. Also, an open loop costs money. It needs to be taken care of. It's still alive in a quiet part of your mind, and you leave a small light on in that room, just in case you ever need it again. It doesn't cost much to have one open loop. That's why no one finds it early. You don't have one though. You have 11 years left. There are hundreds of small lights, in hundreds of small rooms, and they all get their power from the same source. Because the only thing that turns one off is a finished action in the outside world. None of them ever turned off. This means that being tired is not the price of seeing, but of holding. Even worse, the math behind it says that the more honest you are, the more you get. Plus, the more you get without changing, the more lights are on and the more tired you get. Being sincere makes the load heavier. That's why the shallow people around you do not seem as tired as you are. They're not stronger. They are just carrying less material that hasn't been converted. I'm going to give you back control of your history. Every time you said it was dry, it wasn't because God was pulling away. It was a season when the system was fully loaded. Every time you couldn't get excited about a truth you were sure was true, that wasn't being cold. It was a body that was right to refuse to open another file when hundreds were already open. You weren't turning negative. You were getting full. And the huge relief in this, if you'll accept it, is that adding doesn't make it full. No one has ever been saved from having too much by getting more. You don't need a stronger word. A loop needs to be closed. It doesn't matter how much you have left in you to close a loop. Unlike most of the other things you've tried. You just have to choose one. Let's end this in a way that makes you feel something. I want you to let go of something before I ask you to understand something else. Think of one thing, not the biggest one. Something you've known for a year but haven't spent. Don't pick it out carefully, let it come up on its own. It probably got there before I could finish my sentence. Think of it as something you can hold. Give it some weight. Find out how hot it is. take a look at how you've been holding it with both hands, and in a certain way. The way someone holds something they don't want to lose. Now, don't throw your hands, open them. Let the thing rest on your open palms, where it could fall or be grabbed. Hold it there for 3 breaths, even though it will hurt. That pain is a tiny version of the whole trap. If you don't want to spend something, it's because you're afraid that it won't be as valuable as you thought it was. Say it out loud now. I make the archive public. Leave it below where light can reach it. If you want it to stay out, instead of going back into the folder in the morning. That's not a small thing to do. It's the first thing people see about you. Hold still for a moment. I don't want to take you right away from that to something else. I think about a man a lot. In the 31 years that he has owned a small repair shop, he has never said that he is religious. I went right to him and asked about it. He really looked lost when he looked at me, and told me he didn't know what to say. The thing is fixed by someone, and they can use it again. He does not keep a journal. He wasn't able to quote any teachings. He also seems very steady, which is something I haven't seen in most people who have read 100 books. I didn't figure out where it came from for a long time. He doesn't store anything. Almost everything that comes to him is fixed by the time it leaves, usually the same day. He has no file history at all. He has no space in his life where a light has been on for 11 years. He spends everything that is given to him. He spends money so often and right away, that he has never thought of it as a habit. I don't want you to change into him. You were made for depth, and it's not a mistake that you have it. But I want you to know that he has something you've been praying for. And he got it not by getting more, but by never storing what he had. Now it's time for me to go get the thing I left with you. I asked you to wait for a question. What is it about people who understand the most that makes them move the least? When I said it wasn't a metaphor, I really meant it. There is no virtue you lack that is stopping you from understanding and moving. There is a physical path that an insight takes from the point where it is understood to the point where it moves. That opening has shrunk in most adults now. It was shown. It was written down. Then, you forgot about it so much that you've been blaming your personality for something that was measured in a lab decades ago. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history, it is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. I'm about to show you the whole thing. Before anything else, there is one more thing you need. This is the thing I was sent with. One more thing before I give it to you, so you know where we're going. Today I was given a sentence to say, but I can't say it until the very end, after everything else has been laid out. It's not long. Because of this message had to go away instead of being kept. Wait until it's over. This is the heaviest thing I'm carrying today. And if you only take one thing from this hour, make it this symptom. You have never told anyone else about it, because you don't think it sounds like a problem. After something hits you, there is usually a time between the second and third day, when the truth is still there. but something about it has gone flat. You can still say it. No longer does it move you, and you have a vague sense that you missed something, but you don't know what. You said that flattening is a normal way for emotions to fade. Everything goes away. You tell yourself that the mountaintop isn't meant to last. Most people believe that explanation, but it's not true. This belief has cost you the most, because it taught you that the fading was normal, and that nothing needed to be done in the hours before it happened. Here's what is really true. What you learn does not fade. Either it converts or it goes down. There is no neutral storage and no third outcome. The information you received either becomes an action in the real world, in which case it becomes structure, and never needs to be received again, or it doesn't. This happens in about a day. In that case, it doesn't just sit there. It moves up in class. It stops being something you had to do and turns into something you enjoyed. For some, it turns into spiritual fun. That's the whole thing. It also has a window. The time to spend. The time between when you realize the truth and when your brain marks it as finished. It's not long. It ends that same day for most people. And once it's closed, going back to the note won't open it again. That's why reading your journals again makes you flinch, and never moves you. You thought you missed your chances because you weren't ready, the time wasn't right, or you were too busy. All of those explain a week-long delay. None of them say what happened in the 6 hours after the word hit, which is when the decision was made. In one line, this is the real mechanism. You haven't been failing to act on what you've learned. Every time you've done something about them, you've been a little too late by a few hours. And that's been seen as a failure of character for decades in your life. So put the whole record in a new context now. You did not lose every truth you got, but did lose because you were not serious. Not a single person told you about the window, where it was lost on a normal evening, while you were doing the dishes and planning to start over on Monday. That word has never been used on Monday. Only the one that was alive that night was there. And here is the company. The simplest instructions I've ever given someone. Before the end of the day, ask one question when something hits you. How small is the thing that I could do in the next few hours that I would not be able to do if this weren't true? Pay close attention to every constraint in that question. They are all important. Smallest because size is what puts you off, and an appointment that is put off is lost. It must be outside of your head, so that it can be checked in the next few hours, because that's when the window opens. It would not be possible if this weren't true, which is what makes it a conversion and not a chore. So you don't aim too high and miss. Let me show you what I mean by size. For the past year, you've been writing the same message in your head. Read the sentence out loud to the person it's about. Put 20 into the thing you say you believe in. Write only the first sentence, not the whole book. Get rid of the one number you know you shouldn't have on your phone. Set one alarm. Say, one no, 9 times. Often, that's the whole price. 9 minutes inside the window turns a revelation into structure for good. And 11 years outside the window doesn't change anything. And that's the only difference between people who look old and people who look young again. This is the only test you need from now on. Not whether you got it or not. Not if it made you feel anything. Just this. In the real world, did it cost me anything when it arrived? That's how you live your life, so let me show you what it looks like. In that life, it's just another Wednesday. When you wake up, you already know who you are. There is no practice calling or going over of anything, that will make your calling feel real enough to stand on. Before your feet even hit the ground, you believe it. It's no longer a belief. It's a record. Behind you are things that only someone like you could have done. There are a lot of them, and they are all small. You know you've stopped looking not because you're no longer hungry, but because you have nothing left to spend. And someone who doesn't owe anyone anything doesn't go looking. Things that come now land on clear ground, go through you, and out into your week all in the same day. It doesn't build up. Carrying it doesn't cost anything. And I'm no longer tired. Not changed by something exciting. Just left. Like how a sound you stopped hearing is gone when it stops. Each of those little lights in each of those little rooms has been turned off one by one. And you can now get from the same source. They were for the first time in years. Know what's been going on for the past hour. Because it has something to do with what I just told you. There was no reason for you to come. It was because you had a feeling that the problem wasn't a lack that you came. You learned today that there was never a shortage. Now I'll say the plain version, with no pictures at all, because the pictures did their job, and you deserve clear sentences. The reason why. You're not stuck because you don't have enough discipline or faith. You're stuck because your nervous system gets the same reward when you understand something as when you finish something. So the file closes before it gets to you. And every closed file that didn't do anything stays lit as an open loop and uses energy for years. The fix is a single small action that can be seen and verified that happened in the real world on the same day. You can choose a truth by thinking about what could not happen if this were not true. Without any force or system, there is only one conversion in the window. This is for the person who has been honest for years and knows more than most people around them, but their life doesn't show it yet. Not for careless people, but for everyone. This is still the case, so claim it while you still can. Type it out and leave it below. I will change it now. After that, do the 9-minute thing right before bed. Because a phrase written below is still something you understand, until something in the real world changes. Picked. Something you've known for 11 years hasn't changed. The truth that you spend 9 minutes on today will still be there for you when you're old. It was never about how much you were given. That's the only difference. Do you still remember the question I told you to think about? What is it about people who understand the most that makes them move the least? This is the answer. It's not mine. It's not a figure of speech. It won the Nobel Prize too. As of 1981, Roger Sperry had been studying people whose two hemispheres had been surgically separated for years. What he found changed what we thought we knew about the mind. Both halves are not separate departments with different tasks. They are all part of the same instrument, and are meant to work together by sending and receiving signals. One side holds the sense of what something is for, and what it means. The other one holds structure and order. The steps that are taken to complete a task. Whole brain activation is the state that happens when the two work together. It's also not a supernatural condition. In this normal state, knowing and doing are one motion. When insight strikes, the hands start to move. There is no gap because there was never a gap in the first place. Listen to what else the study found. On the standard tests, 98% of kids score at the level of creative genius. It's still where less than one adult in 1,000 tests. Between those two numbers, something takes place. That's something that almost everyone does. It's not a sin or being lazy. These days, adult life trains the two halves to be separate. Years of focused, repeated attention make it harder for them to move from one to the other, until meaning and sequence no longer arrive at the same time. A person can have a lot of knowledge on one side of a road that has quietly closed while the machinery that turns it into steps sits on the other side. That is a choice made by the body, not a spiritual failure. Just because of this, you can see your calling very clearly and stay still. And the visionaries, like Nikola Tesla, Steve Jobs, and artists like Taylor Swift who get something and build it by the weekend, are just as chosen as you are. They work most of the time in the synchronized state, which means that receiving and building are the same thing. A woman from California wrote down, in great detail, 8 years' worth of prophetic dreams that she almost never acted on. She said she didn't have any visions at first after a few weeks. That a choice she had been thinking about for 3 years was easy to make on a Tuesday afternoon. And she couldn't remember why it had been so hard before. There was no fog between deciding and acting like there used to be. A man from Texas said that for 10 years, his life had been frozen while everyone looked to him for advice. He said there wasn't a big change. He told them that things he had known for years started to slip his mind the week they clicked into place. Everyday things. Calls were made, and the room was cleared. He told people about a business for 11 years, and it opened in 90 days. This is what they were both given. A group of neuroscientists in New York, led by Dr. Daniel Barron, sped up clinical neural sync technology, which usually takes more than an hour of session time, into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence that can be done every day with headphones on and eyes closed. That's the whole thing. The smart switch is what they call it. Know what it's not. No, it's not a meditation app or a set of soothing sounds. It is a specific sound sequence that was created based on the Nobel Prize-winning work that Dr. Roger Sperry did on the two hemispheres to connect them and get the whole brain working again. There is a clinical way to get to that state. Neurofeedback costs about $300 an hour in person and about $7,000 for a machine you can use at home. There is also the traditional route. 20 minutes a day for months. Breathe through your left nostril. Not everyone can use the genius switch. For people who want to skip work they never did, it's not for them. It's for the chosen one who has been honest for years, who has prayed, fasted, and read, and who is finally ready to stop seeing the gap between knowing and moving as a flaw in their character, and start seeing it as something with a real address. A lot of people will scroll right past this. You're still here. People who worked on it said it was a great deal even at $500, compared to $300 an hour or a 7,000 machine. You made a good point there. No price was set for it, not $500, not $200, not $100. It cost $49 when it came out. It's $39 now. But today there's an extra 10 off on that page. It has 4 things that go with it. This is a guided visualization from one of the best creators of a popular app for calm. A smart grocery list that helps most families save more than $100 a month. One that has been around for more than 100 years and sells for $20 by itself. And a 5 habits infographic that you can print out. All of it comes with a money-back guarantee that doesn't matter what. You can listen once or 80 times. It will give you back every penny if it doesn't work for you, like it did for 456 other people. There are no strings attached. Let me say the most important thing about provision right now. Most of the time, the Father doesn't send food from far away. He puts it close to you and waits for you to be ready to see it. When you're in sync, you see the door, the name, and the small hole that has been in your week the whole time. When it's in the partial state, you can look right at it and not feel anything. That's how much it really costs to stay put. It's not like something is taken away from you. What has already been put next to you can't be seen, and you keep calling it a time of waiting, when it was really a time of provision that you couldn't see. One word of warning: if you look for tracks that sound similar, you will find copies. But none of them have the neural sync technology that is built into the original. The sound is not what makes it work. The team built the mechanism, and it can be found in one place. The direct page is the only source that can be trusted. Before making a choice, you can read the whole page. I'm going to tell you the truth about what a tool is. It's not what changes you. There is no power over your life that you put in your ears. One thing the tool does: it helps you connect what you know with what you can do with your hands. It's still yours to obey. Use the window even if you don't plan to use it. The window is the truth and everything else is just extra help. Hold them both together. When you're ready, what was talked about will still be there, and the link will still be below this. But the thing that came down today has a window that doesn't wait for anyone. Do the 9 minutes first, no matter what you do with the resource picked. I want to slow down now that we're almost done. That was nice of you. At this point in time, you could have put this off at least 4 places, but you chose to stay. Later would have meant never, but you chose to stay anyway. You didn't want to file this the same way you file everything else. And the fact that you refused is the first proof that what I said about you is true. Let's put it down now. You can say these out loud, under your breath, or just let them go. Let go of the folder. Free the 11 years of words that haven't been used. Let go of the library version of yourself that wasn't living a life. Stop being afraid when you read your own handwriting. Let go of the case you've been building against yourself in words that can't even be used to convict you. Each of the small lights in each room should be turned off one at a time. Let go of the tiredness that was never yours. Don't hold on to it to show that it was important. Let it go. Everything. Let your hands go. Now, stand up inside yourself, because what comes next is not freedom, it's your claim. I'm not a container that holds things. I'm a carrier who is moving. I am the one who moves and receives at the same time. I'm not behind. I have found. From today at 9 a.m. on. What I know is what I do, and something small enough to be real. I don't need to hear anything else. The ones I have are being spent. In no way am I the archive. I'm the answer. Say it. Put it down where you can see it in the morning. What I got is who I am. And now I can give you the sentence I wasn't allowed to before. Why this message had to go away instead of being kept. What you got today was not yours to keep. It was yours to make happen. A word that stays is no longer a word. When a word is used up, it stops being a message and becomes a person walking. It's locked up. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary, where we discuss the Word daily, and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny. fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall, share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit Out Community now, join the family, and see your heavens open. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment, a place where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary, where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided e-books and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.